13 games in action today, and the Cavs stay unbeaten. Me and Swipe are going to break it all down on today's Locked On NBA Game Night.
When that final buzzer rings, you know it's time for Locked On NBA Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. It's the true NBA fans' one stop for all the action. Every game, every night. It's Locked On NBA Game Night. Tipping off now.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Locked On NBA Game Night. My name is Haize. I'm host and creator of Locked On Bulls. I'm joined by the host of Locked On Nuggets. Swipers in the building. And this episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Download the app today and use code Locked On NBA to win $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. Swiper, man, there was a lot of games in action tonight, as there is every single Friday night. And one of the games, the first game that we're going to start off with tonight, is the Cleveland Cavaliers completely dismantling the Golden State Warriors. Coming into this game, the Warriors had played a pretty light schedule. They actually had one of the weakest strengths of schedule so far at the start of the NBA season, even though they have a really good record. And through this weekend into the upcoming week, there's a lot of big tests for this Golden State Warriors team. Well, they failed this first one, losing to the Cleveland Cavaliers 136-117. And that final score does not really indicate how big the lead was at some point in this game. They had a big third quarter, which closed down that lead, but the Cavs really dismantled the Warriors today. How you feeling, Swiper?
Yeah, I mean, you made note of the score differential. I went to check. At one point in time in the game, it was 44-83. Like, this was not a close game. This was two teams in completely different classes. And, I had to, when the game was on, I'm like, well, just is Steph out? What's the why? You know what I mean? Like, my first reaction was to go check and figure out why the score was like that. But no, that wasn't it at all, man. Look, the Cleveland Cavaliers, they have just turned into, and again, this is Kenny Atkinson. I said to Haize off air, I think that he is the easy front runner for Coach of the Year, and there is no one else in the conversation with him right now. I think for him to be able to turn this team into a legit offensive firehouse is wild. And watching them dismantle the Warriors, their stifling defense. Evan Mobley is honestly, Evan Mobley and Chet Holmgren are right there at the top of the league. DPOY conversation for me right now. He was all over the place. Jared Allen is such a great player. And the thing is, Isaac Okoro, Jared Allen, Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell, Evan Mobley, that's starting five. Yeah. My goodness. They put so much pressure on you. And if you're getting Darius Garland playing like he's been so far this year, playing like he did tonight, he's making his shots. He's 6 of 11 from three and deep threes, pull-up threes. He's able to create and facilitate for everybody else. That two-man game he has with Mobley or with Jared Allen using their vertical spacing, man, it has been incredible. And you're good. You're elite when your best player plays 26 minutes, has 12 points on 4 of 13, and you dominate the game nonetheless. I'm talking about, man, the Cavaliers look so impressive. The Warriors, after coming off, the win of the year for them. Yeah, obviously, they didn't play a fully healthy Celtics team, but nonetheless, they came in there and they beat them, especially after all the stuff about Jason Tatum and Steve Kerr goes out there and earns that victory. And then for them to get shellaxed like this, again, I definitely understand the schedule and the road and all that stuff. That definitely aids into why these kinds of games happen. But still, nonetheless, man, this was a butt whooping. And Cleveland makes it, they look like a team that, honestly, right now, I'm not trying to, this is no diss to Boston, but if you just told me, forget all of last season, Cleveland looks like the best team in the East right now. Boston is Boston. They're still probably going to win the title, at least make it to the NBA Finals. But the way Cleveland looks like tonight, where it basically looks Steph Curry in the face and said, we're not concerned at all, and then the bench unit is going crazy. And again, just for context, y'all, how bad tonight was. Isaac Curl was a plus 32. Darius Garland was a plus 30. Jared Allen was a plus 30. Isaac Curl played 27 minutes. He was a plus 32.
Yeah, it's crazy.
He's winning his minutes by more than 1 point per minute.
That's crazy. That's wild. And we do have the host of Locked On Cavs here with his thoughts coming out of the game. We're going to go ahead and play that real quick.
House after the Cavs win their 10th consecutive game to open up the season. This one was a blowout win over the Golden State Warriors. Cavs started off the game on a 20-2 run. They were up by 41 points at halftime. Took their foot off the gas in a little bit, but that doesn't matter. This first half was one of the best first halves of basketball I have ever seen. Everything the Cavs wanted to do, they were able to do. Offensively, they were phenomenal. Defensively, they were phenomenal. They did everything right. It was as close to a perfect half of basketball that I've ever seen. Cavs, 10-0, best start in franchise history. They are the first team to start a season in the NBA 10-0 since the 2015-2016 Golden State Warriors. Yes, that Golden State Warriors team won 73 games. They got up 3-1 in the finals, and then I think something happened after that. I don't know that that's going to happen with this team, but the Cavs are for real, and I think people are going to start to take notice.
Swiper there, man. Danny feels very confident in this Cleveland Cavaliers team. And you mentioned it earlier that this team, you still have Boston right now making it to the finals. Do you think that Cleveland, what percentage chance, I guess is the question I want to ask here, do you give them to be able to come out of the East this year?
Well, if they're healthy, I mean, they just have so much. They have a lot of length in their front court, but their playmaking in their back court is crazy. Donovan Mitchell has proven that he can go, from a scoring standpoint, he can go bar to bar with almost anybody in the Eastern Conference. You know, that's Jalen Brunson, Giannis Antetokounmpo, that's Jason Tatum, and he gives you a puncher's chance in every game. And again, if you're telling me, like, you know, their bench unit is going to be flowing, everybody's going to be playing connected, you know, Isaac Okoro's going to be playing good defense. I mean, Karis LeVert off the bench, Dean Wade, Sam Merrill. Like, if they're all there and they got shooters, and they shoot us today, they put up 42 threes, they made 20. If they're doing that, then yes, then they can absolutely go band for band. Now, it depends on closing minutes and closing lineups and all that, but I would say that right now, I mean, I'll give them about a 45% chance in that series, but that's just because Boston is just they're still like kind of finding out who they are right now too, this new season, new energy and all that. But I mean, honestly, just shout out to Cleveland, man. I mean, just an incredible start, and I would never want to poo-poo a 10-0 run, and I just think that, like, for you to be able to come into a season where nobody expected you to be
like this.
I didn't even know if they're going to be a top 4 seed guaranteed. And then they're a 10-0. I mean, it's astounding. And that's just shout out to Kenny Atkinson.
Yeah, 100% agree with you there. Let's move on to the next game that I want to talk about. We talked about the Celtics and them being the favorites still to come out the Eastern Conference. They had a close one with the Brooklyn Nets today that went into overtime. They actually were very close to losing that game. If it wasn't for Jason Tatum making a last-second three to send this game into overtime, we could be talking about the Nets upsetting the Boston Celtics today. The Celtics end up pulling it out in overtime, 108-104. The Brooklyn Nets, I know a lot's going to be made of this about the Celtics, rightfully so. But the Brooklyn Nets have started off so much better than I think anybody has given them credit for. To be 4-5 in the season, where I came into the season expecting the Brooklyn Nets for Cam Thomas to just be getting up shots. They're playing together. They're actually running the system. These players are playing with confidence. How do you feel about this game, Swipe?
Man, I was wrong on the Nets to come into the year, but just didn't expect them to be able to do this. But every game they played, for the most part, they've been competitive. Yeah, they have at different points been able to push whoever they're playing against, and to see them do this to Boston, like Cam Thomas today, 31 on 11 of 22 on 4 of 9 from 3, like. There's just like sometimes you know, and again, shout out Jordy Fernandez. He's the head coach for the Brooklyn Nets. He has been able, again, just for context, Jordy Fernandez, he left Michael Malone, and then he went to Mike Brown in SAC, and then now he's obviously leading his own team, and he has done an exceptional job of maximizing the talent on that team, maximizing the kind of players they have on that team, and to have Cam Johnson has played as well as he did today. Dennis Schroeder didn't even shoot well today, but again, it's his like versatility, his playmaking, his speed, and he doesn't get a lot of credit for it because he's been beat in playoff series before, and he's a little small. Mm-hmm. But he's a really good defender. Like in terms of like he will get in your crawl and try as hard as possible to make you work. And then even Ben Simmons coming off the bench with his, you know, great triple single that he puts up, but he's still like a really good defender, still a good playmaker. They just have a lot of guys. And sometimes, Haize, when you just have like a bunch of people that believe in their identity, even if you don't win the game, you're still going to be able to push teams that people just don't expect you to be able to push. And again, this was in Boston. The game went to the clutch. This was not a game that Boston just absolutely ran home with. Like, they pushed them to the brink. And had it not been for Tatum, had it not been for some of those closing possessions for the Celtics, we'd be having a whole different discussion right now.
That's 100%. And you just got to shout out. And Dennis Schroeder, too, as well. Like, he's averaging 20 points per game on 50% shooting from the field, 49% shooting from three. I think those are both career highs for him. And, like, he's just coming in here and playing with confidence. So, hey, it's good. This Brooklyn Nets team has come into this, after coming into the season, a team that I didn't have any interest to watch, has slowly started becoming one of the teams that, hey, if they're on, and nothing else, and maybe a game I'm not interested in, I'm checking out Brooklyn Nets basketball because they're playing really good right now.
Shout out Al Horford, too. You want to talk about, like, being in year 80, and then you're hitting clutch corner shots, and coming down in situations like this in the fourth quarter, man. Again, Boston has a lot. They're going to be really difficult for anybody to beat because everybody knows what they're supposed to be doing on that team.
That's 100% fact. Well, we are going to get into next. We're going to talk about the Suns getting their win over the Dallas Mavericks today. But before we get into that, we got to get into a message from one of our sponsors, and that is Prize Picks. Today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. You can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need a win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. In tonight's NBA action, I'm looking at LaMelo Ball more or less than 28.5 points. Before the Miles Bridges injury, I would have mashed the less button, but because I think Ball is looking for his teammates more, but Bridges is out and Melo has historically crushed the Pacers, so I'm selecting less than on Melo. More or less, which way will you go? Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's promo code LOCKEDONNBA, LOCKEDON NBA, to get $50 off instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. We also got to get into another message from another one of our sponsors, and that is FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. That's FanDuel. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. I can't stress enough how much that gives you guys a leg up to be able to get everything you need to make an informed bet right there on the same page where you can place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You can start it with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, Swipe. Man, with that said, let's get into this game here. We got the Suns winning over the Dallas Mavericks 114-113. This came down to Yusuf Nurkic making a last-second free throw with 0.8 seconds left to put them over the top. How are you feeling about this one?
I thought he was going to miss that second one too, bro. I'm not going to lie to you. That first one clanked hard, and I'm like, no way he's going to do this. Yo, something's wrong with Kevin Durant, man. Like, I'm not going to lie to you. Like, this just, first off, the Mavs were leading down the stretch of this game, and Kevin Durant, Kyrie gets a pull-up three, and the crowd goes crazy. 10 seconds later, here comes KD, left wing, switch, pull up three, and just absolutely bombing. Y'all, the Suns had 6 double-digit scores today. They had 6 double-digit scores. Mike Budenholzer has truly taken this roster, found the things that work best with them, and he's made a game plan that just works seamless with them. And I think he's maximizing Kevin Durant in ways that I just don't think he has in recent years with Frank Vogel honestly, man, like, this was another game for the Suns where it's like, man, they have a lot of like pull-up shooting. They got a lot of guys that can like just make shots. They have a lot of guys that can defend out of nowhere. And I said this last year. People didn't realize that the Suns, when everybody was healthy, they actually had a pretty good defense. And this year, their defense has been good. So even just locking in on certain possessions where they need to get a final stop, having Beal work as hard as he does, Booker, and then having KD as a backline defender, Nurkic is a very big body, very good rebounder in your lineup. They just have a lot of different things going for them. And again, Luka's still finding his shot. He was only 11 to 25 today, but again, 5-12 from three, so that kind of offsets it a little bit. But look, I just think that the Suns, they look like a team that's trying to contend in the West, that can contend in the West when they're healthy, man. So I'm just really excited to see what they did today.
For sure, for sure. We do have Locked On Mavs host Nick Anstead here with his thoughts on the game. We're going to go ahead and play those now.
Mavs, and then the end, it didn't go the way they had scripted it. Mavs lose to the Suns, and in the first half, the Suns were just in complete control. They were 10 of 22 from three. It looked like the exact same script from the first time these two teams played at the beginning of this season, where the Suns just could not miss from three. They were hitting a bunch of them. They were getting wide open threes, though. The Mavs defense was not scrambling quick enough. They were letting guys beat them off the dribble and all that. Then the second half happens, and Luka and Kyrie take over in the third quarter, 10 points each in that one. And then in the fourth quarter, we got a vintage Kyrie, KD, back and forth, jumper, bucket, back and forth moment, which was really awesome to see them two going back at it and going at it together. And then it came down to the end. The Mavs had several chances, 23 seconds left. It was tied after Kyrie hits Gafford Luka hits Gafford on a pick and roll. Then you just have a couple of missed plays here and there. Gafford didn't box out Nurkic on an offensive rebound. A foul was called on Gafford when it shouldn't have been. Tough one.
Definitely a tough loss there, man. It really sucks that to lose on that type of last minute, playing with Nurkic going to the free throw line. And like you said, I didn't think he was going to make both of them, but he did. He pulls it out. And overall, do you see the Suns right now as a team that can legitimately win the Western Conference, or are they just riding the high right now? They're going to come back down to earth.
No, it's not that I don't think they can. It's just there are just going to be some matchups they're going to struggle with. They're going to struggle with Denver. They're going to struggle with the Thunder. They might struggle with the Wolves again just because the Wolves are so physical, and they got bullied last year. So there's still some teams that are just legitimately stronger. They're just more skilled, bigger. Their defensive ceilings are higher. Even some of their offensive ceilings are higher. But I do think the Suns can they're going to make anybody work because they have Kevin Durant. They have Booker. They have Beal. Royce O'Neal's a really good role player. Grayson Allen, Tyus Jones, and then having Yusuf Nurkic. And I think Budenholzer is a very good coach too. So they're going to be able to push teams. But they still are lacking some things that I think are ultimately going to cost them later down the line. Now we'll see if they are able to make some of those adjustments. I still don't like their backcourt defense consistently with Tyus Jones and Booker and Beal. And again, Nurkic, Nurkic is also just not the kind of player that typically would translate to winning at that level, because he's not like an elite defender. He's also not an elite offensive player. You can basically just kind of play off of him in playoff settings, and it's okay, well, now you're doing DHOs and here and there. And then defensively, he's really good when he's stationary, Haize, but when he has to move his feet, and again, in the playoffs, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pull you up into everything, and then now you got to move. So, and he also is very aggressive, and he fouls a lot. So as soon as he gets out of the game, they're kind of out of their luck. So they can, but the formula for them is going to be more difficult than some other teams.
Yeah, for sure there. Moving into the next game that we're going to talk about, the Oklahoma City Thunder rebounding from their first loss of the season against your Denver Nuggets today against the Houston Rockets. A complete and utter major victory, 126-107. The Houston Rockets, I don't think, won a single quarter in this game. They did win the fourth quarter. I take that back. But at that point, the game had been decided. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander with 29 points, Chet Holmgren with 29 points. I think both these guys are playing at an MVP caliber level right now. How did you feel about this game?
Yeah, man, the Thunder, they're mad titans.
Yeah.
I think what people don't realize, even, Jalen Green's a very athletic player. Obviously Amen Thompson, Reed Shepherd. I mean, they have a lot of guys on their roster with the Rockets. And, and I like Alfred Şengün. I think he's a good player. I think he legitimately could be an all-star level player, even if maybe as soon as this year. But the Thunder, dude, they just swarm you. And Chet especially, when he's on the floor and you have Shea, Lou Dort, Alice Caruso, Cason Wallace, they have so much length and they're so fast and they're so physical. And one of the things that Mark Daigneault has done better than almost any coach in the league, he coaches hands. And I know like that sounds weird, but like I think what people need to realize, a lot of defense is like body positioning. And if you can't get your feet in front of them and you can't get your hips in front of them, what you can do is play the ball always. And they play the ball better than most teams in the league. And to the point, they forced 17 turnovers for the Rockets today. That's how they do it. They're going to play very smart on the offensive end. They're going to find good shots on almost every possession. They're going to try to play as efficient as possible, which they did today, shooting 51, 38, 87 splits. And then they're a low turnover team. So they're turning you over. We're not turning the ball over. We're not even creating a lot of assists consistently, but Shea, J-Dub, Chet, Kaysen, I'm going to find an optimum shot on every possession. And so they're just like so methodical with their process. And then defensively, they're so swarming that like they're playing like a math game in some instance. Like, we're going to turn you over and we're going to play high-level efficient basketball. And in those little possessions, those 7 possession differences where we score and you lose the ball, that makes all the difference in the game, which is why they have so many double-digit blowout wins.
They just play. They execute so well, and I think when you look, especially when you look at like what they have as far as that defensive rotation as well, with the Case and Wallace, the Wiggins, and the Alex Caruso, and how those guys,
Caruso coming off the bench, like what?
And they just play their role so well. Like, yeah, Caruso's been shooting like crap for the most of the season, but like he has such an impact in other areas of the game that they're able to withstand. And now I do think there are going to be some times, there are going to be some games that may not happen to the playoffs where they're going to need one of those guys to step up scoring. I would bet on Wiggins in a case like that. I think he's still averaging over 10 points per game, but like they just, it's honestly, it's a cheat code. They are a cheat code right now.
Yeah, they're great. And yeah, I think they have so many things going for them. They should easily, be one of, if not the favorite coming out of the Western Conference. And again, you brought up Aaron Wiggins. I was like, Aaron Williams, Wiggins, Kendrick Williams, they just have dudes that are coming off the roster and off the bench, and they're just like all able to play. So again, shout out to the Thunder. Shout out to the Rockets too, man. Like, their season kind of going up and down. Fred VanVleet hasn't played super well so far this year. Torrey Eason's been great. Amon Thompson at 14-7 off the bench. Again, offensively, he's still figuring some stuff out. He's going to be a tremendous, tremendous defender. Şengün, 3 of 12 from the field. Again, this Chet, like, he just makes it so much more difficult for you.
Good. And we haven't even gotten to see them with Isaiah Hartenstein yet. That's the crazy part of all this, man.
Well, we did in the preseason and it looked like world beater. So, he'll be back in a couple weeks.
That's a fact. Well, next up, we're going to go ahead and go around the rest of the games around the NBA that we haven't touched on yet. We're going to start off with the Pistons game in which Cade Cunningham hit a game-winning shot. But before we get into that, got to get some message from Skims. If you're like most guys, you probably haven't put much thought into upgrading your underwear in a while. But with Skims launching their men's line, it's time to rethink what comfort and support actually feel like. Skims is known for quality and fit, and now they're bringing the same attention to men's underwear. Imagine boxer briefs that stay in place, briefs that breathe, and fabrics that feel like they're made just for you. Skims has a range of options, whether you're looking for classic cotton boxer briefs that won't ride up, or stretch boxer briefs that move with you all day long. These aren't your usual store-bought packs. Skims has tailored each style to keep its shape and deliver comfort that lasts. These briefs are perfect for anyone who wants their underwear to stay where it belongs without sacrificing comfort. Shop Skims Men's at skims.com. Let them know that we sent you. After you place your order, select podcast in the survey and select our show in the drop-down menu that follows. And if you're looking for the perfect gift for the whole family, Skims just launched their biggest holiday shop ever, also available at skims.com. All right, so Cade Cunningham hits a game winner to put the Detroit Pistons over the Atlanta Hawks, 122-121. Listen, the Pistons were trailing with just a few seconds left in this game. Cade Cunningham hits that floater over Dyson Daniels. How you feeling about this game?
Well, number one, I am very happy for Cade. I think Cade has been given one of the most unfair narratives around him of any young player in the league. He signs a 5-year, $224 million deal. Everybody's like, well, he's not a winner. What is he doing? Like, he gets injured. What has he done to earn that kind of a money? And I'm like, y'all, if you just watch Cade, he is a really good player. He's a good playmaker. He's a good scorer. He's a good rebounder for a guard. He is working to get better defensively, and he has amazing court vision. But who is he throwing the ball to prior to this? Like who's working around him? And then on top of that, the coaching situation he was in. I mean, you just add all that stuff up. It's just not helping a young player. And so for him to have, I think, 3 triple doubles, I want to say, in the last week or something like that. And then today, 22, 11, and 13, game-winning shot, left-handed floater over the top. Cade is so incredibly talented, and I love what Isaiah Stewart, Jaden Ivey, and again, one thing about having a grown person in the room is it gives you poise, and that's what Tobias Harris is. He's poised for that team. He's a good shot maker. He's a good defender for that team, and he really just helps them to figure out offensive sets. And then we do get late game situations. How do we defend? How do we make sure we're Xing out properly? That we're running our X matches. That on the other side, that we're setting good means that, and again, if K does get to the downhill, if Jaden Ivey does get downhill, you have a trusted corner shooter you can give the ball to and make a difference for. So I just think that they have a lot of potential. I think that they continue to just build into who they are, but I really am just happy for Cade that he's kind of getting some more flowers, especially this early in his career.
Yeah, for sure. Great game there. Great finish to that game. The Grizzlies also beat the Wizards today, 128-104. The Memphis Grizzlies starting to kind of catch their rhythm. I think that game where Ja and LeBron were kind of going at it has kind of reinvigorated Ja Morant a little bit, man. How you feeling about the Memphis Grizzlies season and this win so far this season?
Yeah, I mean, they're good. I think the Wizards are not a good team at all. So, it's kind of hard to, I guess, measure success versus them. But again, the upstanding news is Jaren Jackson Jr. getting 39 points and shooting 50% from the field to do it. Again, Jaren Jackson, he doesn't get a lot of love as a scorer because people think about him as a DPOY, and he's just a secondary option to Ja Morant, and then, apparently for some people, even Desmond Bane. But when he gets to scoring and he can find his way within the offensive flow, he's really good. And he put that on the show today versus Washington. Again, Washington, not the best team, obviously, in the world, in the Eastern Conference especially. But those are still good frontline defenders that he faced, and he was able to put up really, really good night.
Yeah, 39 points from him in this game. They get the dub. Also, the Knicks over the Bucks, 116-94. The Milwaukee Bucks just keep failing downwards, and I don't know where this is going to end up for them, but this is going to end very ugly. But it's good to see Karl Anthony Towns on the Knicks and things like that. How do you feel about either one of these teams?
No, bro. What? Bro, 116-94?
Yeah.
What are we doing? Yo, Doc Rivers, man. I think they're 20. I want to say they're 20-26. And their last win just came versus the Jazz since Doc Rivers got there. I believe that's their record. Hey, Haize, no. It's not working.
No.
I'm sorry, bro. No, I don't care. You got Giannis on your roster. You got Dame on your roster. And you're telling me that you're sitting here at 2-7? Is what their record is?
Yeah.
No, absolutely not. They're at the bottom of the conference. And the only reason they're not lower is because Embiid hasn't played yet. Maxi's out, and just Paul George by himself, and it was Tyrese Maxey by himself.
Yeah. This
is unacceptable, man. No way. I'm sorry, bro. There's no way you're going to look at me in my eye and tell Giannis Antetokounmpo, no. I think the future for them is that thing is getting blown up. And I don't know if it's going to be players for sure. I don't know when. And again, if I'm them, maybe they're just going to wait until Chris Middleton gets fully back and all that stuff. But I'm sorry, man. You're sitting here telling me that you can't put up a more competent fight versus the Knicks with that roster, with that team, with those players, with Giannis and Dame on your roster. They have a culture problem. That's what I want people to realize. They don't believe in what they're doing. You cannot be that talented and then not put up better performances than you did tonight versus the New York Knicks. The Knicks, their defense hasn't even been good. The Karl Anthony Towns has been a cone, and there's no Mitchell Robinson. So, man, I'm telling you, man, it's just, if anything, the alarm bells for me are going off. I think the Knicks are great. I think they're going to be a great team as they figure out the rest of the season when Mitchell comes back, and as Cat's kind of getting integrated into the offense with Jalen and Hart and Mikal. But this is the Bucks. What's happening to them is unacceptable.
Yeah, and they got to do something and it's literally just been a crap show the whole entire time. Moving into the next game, the Orlando Magic 115 over 80 to 88 over the New Orleans Pelicans in this game. Franz Wagner finally has a big game, 27 points. And I love how the Magic in their win since Paolo went down has been a different player. Like Tristan Da Silva had a big game a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
Jalen Suggs, who's really kind of stepped up as a scorer, didn't have a big night scoring wise. Only 7 points from him, but they're still able to get the victory, which is the most important thing. They have to keep stacking as many victories as they can as they wait for Paolo to return.
Yeah, I mean, really just shout out to Orlando. I think that they were starting to figure some things out with having Paolo inside of the lineup. But, I think it's just trying to reconfigure how you're supposed to be playing together and what everybody's supposed to be doing. Again, Jamal Mosley I think he's an underrated coach in this league. I think he's been really good for them. I think he's helped them a lot. But again, tonight there's no Zion. Like the team with the Pelicans, they just don't fit right. When there's no Zion, there's no Herb Jones, there's no Trey Murphy, there's no DeJounte Murray. I mean, they're literally trying to keep their head above water at this point. Even Brandon Ingram got stifled out today. So they just did what they were supposed to do, I feel like. If you're playing against a team that's that injured, that's that hurt, well, then I expect you to be able to win, and especially with a defense like that. They're doing what they're supposed to be doing. And again, I think that the Magic, they have a really high ceiling they can reach this year because of where their defensive ceiling is. And also, I hope KCP figured out his shot. He was 0-4 from 3 again today, and he's getting good looks. But for whatever reason, I think some of it's a new environment. Some of it's just the spacing around him. He's just not been a confident shooter. But as you said, Franz, good player, had a really good night tonight. Tristan Da Silva, I think, is going to be a really good player for them, too.
I like Tristan Da Silva.
Yeah, if they can develop him into a legit playmaking, guard-level player, I think they'll be set for years to come.
Yeah. And talking about another duo, the Charlotte Hornets 103-83 over the Indiana Pacers today. LaMelo Ball with 31 points, Brandon Miller with 29 points, Trey Mann another big game off the bench as well with 14 points. This Charlotte Hornets team is fun. I don't know how many wins they're going to have this season, but I tell you what, as long as LaMelo Ball is playing the way that he is, and with Brandon Miller being there, this is just a fun team to watch.
Yeah, they're good. LaMelo, I don't want to say all NBA season, but
he may be putting together. Yeah,
he's putting it on. Now again, 31 on 29 shots tonight. So again, not the most efficient kind of basketball you're looking for. 5 of 18 from the 3-point line. Not the most efficient basketball you're looking for, but somebody I think who I had at number 1 on my most improved list coming into the year, Brandon Miller, 29, 6 and 6. Look, they got a lot of talent. They got a lot of good players. I don't understand the Pacers at all. They can beat the Celtics one week and then just oscillate with how they're playing and just their overall effectiveness. So shout out to Charlotte. Shout out to LaMelo, man. I think shout out to Brandon Miller. They're building something special, I think, in Charlotte. And I'm excited to see how they continue to do the rest of the season.
Yeah. The Clippers 107-98 over the Sacramento Kings. James Harden, Norman Powell. This is how they've gotten to 5 wins so far in the season. 22 points from James Harden, 8 assists. He's going back to kind of that high usage rate. James Harden. Norman Powell's been playing a great role for this Clippers team so far as Kawhi's been out. 31 points from him. It was asked a question before if Norman Powell's this is sustainable from Norman Powell, and I'm starting to think that it is. How you feeling about this Clippers team?
I mean, it was a good win. 31 points, 12 rebounds to Norm. I wouldn't say that's necessarily sustainable. I don't love where the Kings are right now. 23 and 12 and 6 for Sabonis is good. But again, just getting stops when you need to, playing the consistent level of basketball you need to for 4 quarters. The Kings are still trying to get there. But it was a great win by the Clippers. I don't know why people thought the Clippers were going to be worse than this. I think people were literally telling me the Clippers are not even going to be in the play-in. But if you just look at their roster, look at James Harden, when they get Kawhi back, Tyronn Lue's one of the best coaches in the league. So overall, I mean, just shout out to the Clippers for continuing to fight with all the stuff they've been dealing with.
Yeah, next up, the Lakers, 116-106 over the Philadelphia 76ers. The Lakers, they needed this win. This was the team that I hope has a big weekend. Anthony Davis with 31 points, 11 for 20 in this game, 9 points. You also got LeBron James with a triple-double, 21 points, 12 rebounds, 13 assists, and 20 points from Austin Reeves with D'Angelo Russell, who got moved and demoted to the bench, a role that he did not want. Ends up having a pretty efficient night, 7 of 12 from the field with 18 points. The Lakers get this victory.
Yeah, shout out to the Lakers. Shout out to Anthony Davis. They got the win versus the hampered 76ers team. Paul George, another not good game for Paul George. And I know how Philly fans are. 9-4-8, 4 of 13. I don't want to see that if I'm in Philly, but they're just going to try to have to figure it out until Embiid comes back, which could be as soon as early next week. So shout out to the Lakers. They got another win. Their win profile is not impressive so far in the year. Their defense has been horrific for most of the year, but Anthony Davis continues this year to like one of the 4 best players in basketball. So we'll see if he can keep that up.
Definitely MVP caliber season for him. The Denver Nuggets, after a slow start, like there was so much to be made about the Denver Nuggets slow start. And I don't know why people doubt him. As long as you got Jamal Murray, you got Jokic, you got Coach Mike Malone there, they're always going to be a solid team. 30 points from Jokic in this game, 28 from Jamal Murray, 21 from Christian Braun, and this is 21 from Michael Porter. Like they just completely, like everybody got theirs today, and the Miami Heat just keep struggling.
Well, the Miami Heat, they actually had maybe their best offensive game of the year. They hit 19 threes today, which is the most they've hit all season. Yeah, man, the Nuggets, they're just a well-oiled machine, and I think a lot of this is as they continue to figure out their identity with unit, Christian Braun being the starter, they're like percolating. And Peyton Watson got slotted in for Aaron Gordon. Aaron Gordon's obviously going to be out for a couple of weeks because of the injury, but Peyton just looks like a seamless fit. Their defense looks really great, and Christian Braun just looks like a different caliber player. Joker, 30, 11, and 14 today. Crazy. And he had a 90 true shooting. He continues to just absolutely do work over the entire NBA. Jamal Murray, first game back from a concussion, 28 points, 4-10 from 3. Love to see it.
And Jokic, another MVP season loading Swiper.
Oh, I said before the year he's going to win MVP, and then people were like, "Oh, well, they can't. You know, the fourth, and it's somebody else's turn." I'm like, "Okay, well, you take it from him then." I mean, I don't know what to tell you. Like, you do something. You got to do something about it at this point. Like, yeah. You see what he's doing this year. Like, it's just you got to do something about it. You have to take it from him.
That's a fact. Last game on the night, the Minnesota Timberwolves coming off their big 45-point fourth quarter against my Chicago Bulls to win that game. They come in here 127-102 to defeat the Portland Trail Blazers, man. And Anthony Edwards, man, he's just on a tear right now. 37 points in this game, 9 for 15 from three-point range. He's killing it. Julius Randle with 22 points as well in this game. Then they get big performances off the bench from Naz Reid with 15 points, and then also 14 points from Dante DiVincenzo. Question to you, Swiper, not only just on this game, but like, are the Minnesota Timberwolves starting to gain that traction? Do you think that they are a team that, because after the trade, I think a lot of people kind of looked at them as they got worse. Are they a team that's going to make some noise in the Western Conference this year?
I mean, yeah, I think they're going to be a really good regular season team. I think Anthony Edwards taking this leap as a shooter is, again, if you put a bingo card in front of me, Anthony Edwards being the second fastest player in NBA history to hit 53 pointers in a season would not have been anywhere close. But he's been like that all year, and I salute him for adding this thing to his game, and especially come playoff time, that should help him. But 9 of 15, Anthony is shooting crazy to start the year.
It's crazy.
That's gonna go down at some point in time. It will not be like that forever. But nonetheless, man, shout out to Anthony Edwards. Julius Randle been very efficient this year. Rudy Gobert, one of the best defenders in the league. They take care of business versus a hapless Portland Trail Blazers team.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, anything left, Swipe, before we get up out of here, man?
No, man. Shout out to you, Haize, man. One of the hardest working men in the business.
Yeah, me and my 15 podcast, man. I appreciate everybody for tuning in, man, and tuning into another episode of Locked On NBA Game Time, man. Make sure you guys also go to LockedOnDaily.com, where we got team newsletters for every single team in the NBA. You can get your daily and morning fix as a newsletter. Make sure you go to LockedOnDaily.com to sign up. For Swiper, I'm Haize. This has been Locked On Game Time. We out, y'all. Peace.